Suddenly got very nervous. So I want to talk about, we've had a lot of ideas coming out here, a lot of questions have been posed. We've given little short answers to some of these questions that have come up about where we're headed and what's next and what's going on. I want to take some more time to talk about what we are doing, what we want to be doing, what we need help with, and kind of how we see this going forward. Because what I saw today and with what we've had here is, I think, what I've kind of been aware for a while is we've got a user community that's here. We have a bunch of new technology being developed over here, and there's not exactly a clear bridge on how to cross that over there, right? And I think that, to me, is the biggest problem I'm concerned about. Like, how do we take advantage of all this great work that's being done, that's giving us better support for more modern browsers, and yet allows us to not obsolete all the tests that we've built, right? So we won't have to rewrite them using a new, brand new API. JavaScript shell, it is a plugin to Firefox. If you've used Firewater, you've had to install this manually to get it running. JSSH was developed and maintained by Mozilla, and they have stopped doing that with 3.6. So 3.6 it was included, 3.5 earlier it was included. They stopped doing that. It is the mechanism that Firewater used to drive the browser. And so with that, because it's not being run, we did look into, like, should the Water team take over maintenance of JSSH for Firefox 4. That was something that we talked about. It's something that is technically possible to do. The code is all open source. The Mozilla team would be happy to let us take it over and to do that. But it's kind of a lot of work, and the JSSH stuff, I mean, you tell me, you've been working as much as I have, it's been kind of a pain for us anyway. We have to compile it for different languages and for different platforms. We had already taken over the responsibility for compiling it, really. So if you want to get a version of it to compile for this platform or for this operating system, you came to the Water team to do that, not to the Mozilla team. So we had taken on that responsibility.
So JSSH had like a long history, and Andres essentially came up with a Firewater browser to use JSSH, which he's basically pumping a bunch of JavaScript commands straight into Firefox in order to enable it to run what we're running. The problem is it was an unsupported project for a while, but still included as part of the Mozilla source creep. It's no longer as of 4, so they yanked that out. We've had to recompile it for multiple platforms. A couple of people at Facebook actually set us up with a couple of JSSH binaries. It's a pain in the neck, it's all C++ code. So this is actually what was the driving motive and driving factor for moving to WebDriver.
It was one of the things, so when we saw this was happening at the same time the WebDriver project was moving ahead, and they had, to me, a much more compelling story for a better way to support Firefox 4. So what we kind of had decided between ourselves is, like, that's going to have to be the future. And it's just kind of interesting that Firefox 4 got launched this week, as we have this thing here. And so the questions about this have really popped up a lot in the Water community over the past week, as people are saying, well, what do we do about this, and how does this work, and how do I get JSSH for it? But it's really, it really is going with WebDriver. I mean, we're convinced that we have to figure out, now there are some of these compatibility issues, there are some different issues that people have talked about. They're not, they're much easier problems to solve than the problems of just compiling JSSH or making it work with JSSH, making it with Firefox 4. But they still are kind of, they're not, we haven't finished solving all of them. So that's kind of a problem, I think, for a lot of people right now. We're looking at it, if you need to be testing with Water in Firefox 4 today, and you've got old Firewater scripts that used to work, like, what do you do? Right? So that's I think, a real question, and we can talk some more about that. And that's kind of what we're talking about, is how do you get forward on that? I put this slide today. I think some other people have some similar ones here. I did a quick look, like, what happens when you install Water, and I want to talk a little bit about how the Water like, what is Water, and what is the Water project, and what is inside Water, and what is not inside Water. I realize that these are actually complicated questions, and one of the things I think that Željko, where's Željko? There you are. So one of the things that he's done to me repeatedly is he'd say, well, what is Water, and who's on the team, and what gems are in and what are out, because there's all these things that call themselves water, and we don't really, we're not really fastidious about the brand, and if someone calls their thing water, we don't like slap them or anything if we don't like them or whatever. And we don't, it's kind of open for people to use as they want, but then there's also a sense of there's being a central piece of it, and then there's things that are more on the edge. So anyway, these are the gems that we have. If you install Water right now today on Windows, you will get Firewater installed, you'll get Common Water installed, Nokogiri will come in there, you'll get a couple of Windows-specific things called Win32 Process and Windows CR. We use this for some of the process control on Windows, some of the outside the DOM features. One of the reasons why people like Water so much better than things like Selenium or some of the alternatives come from these gems. We get user choices, and the maintainers in the room. There you are. So Merrick maintains that. We get Ho, which I want to pull out. Yeah, that was, I don't know whose idea that was. I think it was mine. It was a bad one. AutoMit is not a gem, but it's a library that we bundle in. It's actually not open source. We might get rejected from the Software Freedom Conservancy because we use it, but right now, and people always want to get rid of it, but it does so many useful things, it's hard to get rid of for us right now. We have active support, and I think we just pulled that out.
That one's out.
Is it in the last release or just in trunk?
It's in the last release. So we had some problems with active support. Active support changed naming structures. Depending on active support, it's a great library, a lot of useful features. We were essentially pulling out one or two functions that we were using from active support, and you're pulling along this huge library along with it. So we had versioning dependencies. People who were running Rails 3 wanted to depend on active support 3 to support Rails. We were requiring active support 2.8. So finally dumped that, basically.
To continue to think of it as a useful part of the Water constellation. So I'm not interested in a wholesale replacement of this piece. We are talking about replacing this. I think what we'll probably want to do is continue to maintain this for Firefox 3, but understanding that we're not using it for Firefox 4. And so, for some people who are happy on that thing, someone said they had fixes for it, whatever. I think we should still maintain it for that community. But it's in an end of life process. It doesn't mean we're going to cut it, unplug its cord today. Yeah. Am I going to remove it from gem install Water? I think someday we need to do that. I don't know when. That's part of what we need to do is schedule that. I think part of that is to switch over to Water WebDriver. I don't know, and that's what I want to talk about. How do we switch over to that? So this is the code right now that basically ties these gems together. It's very simple, and it says that for IE, we use the Water IE driver, and for Firefox, we use the Firewater driver, and for Safari, we use the Safari Water driver. Now this is in, if you install Water today, this is in 1.6.5, it's in 1.8.0. This is how that's configured. It's one file, and actually you can type in these commands with different parameters, and you will change your own configuration. And so you can essentially change these settings so that you can today say, I want to put, now I don't think this syntax today supports Water WebDriver because it has a different kind of way of doing it. So one of the things I'd like to explore is whether we can use this as a way of plugging in Water WebDriver. What I personally want to do at Convio is continue to use the IE driver for IE because I'm happy with that, and then I want to start using the Water WebDriver specifically for Firefox. Those are really still the two ones that I'm thinking about. And so being able to pull both those libraries in together and use them is something that I personally want to do and to find a way forward for the whole community to do as a next step along this road to getting to this Water 2 or whatever you want to call that. And we're probably going to pull Safari Water off of here because I don't even know if anyone's really using it.
It's not very well used. It hasn't been, so it does use RDA.